Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today I'm gonna make an unpopular point here because I'm guessing if you're watching this that you're like a pro death penalty person. I'm just gonna guess, right? And I always have been, well, almost always have been my whole life. Because the problem is that the crimes that are committed, especially by people and by the system, are so heinous that I want to see punishments. Okay, so I realized recently that that is, in my opinion, the correct view, right? In a future system, I would like it to have a death penalty, of course, because there's so many people who committed treason, right? So my argument here, though, is that in this system, do you want there to be a death penalty in this system? So in a future system, my answer is heck yeah, right? In this system, I realize I'm still running around with this pro death penalty position, but the system's terrible. I talk about it like nonstop, like if you've been watching the channel nonstop, right? So just think about like these January 6th people, right? And think about how unjust the treatment of them has been, right? And none of them got the death penalty, but could you not see a scenario where they say that this is actual insurrection and that people are death penalty that totally should not be, right? Look at the prosecution of Donald Trump, right? I've been a harsh critic, I'll say, of his stance on Israel, but do you trust that system that's prosecuting Trump to also give the death penalty, right? And I have been pro death penalty, and I realize that in this system that doesn't work. In the future, I will be, right? In a good system, right? But in the system, no. Do you trust Biden or Harris with the death penalty? Do you trust Trump with the death penalty? Maybe the answer is yes, right? But the problem with saying yes on that point is that January 6, 2028, there could be an event that happens at the Capitol. I'm just saying there could be, like, literally. And people get arrested and then people start getting executed. Like, it literally could happen because whatever power you give to this administration, right, which looks like it's shaping up to be a decent administration, you also give to the next administration, to the administration after them, to the administration. The answer to me is no, not in this system, right? So I'm going to talk to you about a particular story that's a little bit heinous, right? And it's the story of the guy in Missouri that they just killed recently. So by now it's 2 months ago, I guess they killed him, or a month and a half. So I'm just going to go over the story real briefly. There's an article below if you want to read more about it, right? His name's Marcellus Williams. He's a black guy, right? There was this lady, I think she was a white gal, Felicia Gale, and she was stabbed to death in her home in 1988, right? Well, they couldn't find who murdered her, And then basically they offered rewards, this and that, and this guy ends up getting convicted in 2001. So 13 years later, he's convicted, right? He maintained his innocence until the end. And how they caught him was that they were offering a cash reward, right? So this guy, he was in jail. Fine. I don't know what he was in jail for. He was in jail, and his cellmate said that he confessed to killing this lady, right? All these years later. And he said, now give me the cash, right? So they pay the cellmate for test. That sounds really credible to me. And then also his girlfriend told on him because, I think it was an ex-girlfriend, but she was also not on the right proper path of life, we'll say, right? And then they tried to say, hey, there's this reward, come. And she's like, nah, I don't know nothing, And then they came at her again, like a time later, they came at her again. And then a third time they came at her. Now she thought they had a warrant for her arrest. And she says, I'll tell you whatever you want me to tell you, And so then both of those people testified against him, right? The murder weapon was tampered with prior to the 2001 trial. So DNA evidence could not be obtained to exonerate him, right? And so they said, hey, let's just do a DNA test. But the problem is you can't DNA test the weapon because it's been mishandled by the authorities, right? And the prosecutor who prosecuted him in 2001, he turned around completely and said, no, we cannot death penalty this guy. This is not even close, And the victim's family came out and said, no, give him life in prison. Give him life in prison, but we're not 100% sure, right? Because the law in criminal court says beyond a reasonable doubt. This guy, 100% of people who look at this story say he's not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. There's evidence against him. He still might be guilty, but beyond a reasonable doubt, the answer is no, to 100% of people looking at this. And the state just rolled on inexorably like a rock rolling down a hill and murdered this dude, right? And whether he was guilty or not, if he's not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, then it is murder him. The governor murdered this man, right? And this is the state. This is in Missouri too, So it's not like this is happening in, I don't know where. I don't know. But like, what I'm saying is you can't give this system the power. You should not want this system to have the power to execute people, because the problem is it's gonna come back and it's gonna get really good people. In my opinion, there's a probability that it could, right? I would say it's less likely to get really bad people who are bad politically. It's much more likely to get people who are good politically caught in it, right? When it's just catching criminals and doing this and that, fine, whatever, But then if it comes around to it, it's going to be a terrible thing. And so I just wanted to pitch this to you, like, just for your food for thought, so you can think about it, because I've just almost always been a pro death penalty guy, and now I'm thinking, what on earth were you thinking? How would like? Do you remember the story in Governor Gretchen Whitmer in wherever she's at, one of those states up there? And I did the whole 2-part story on it, and how terrible the justice system is, and the justice system that sends in all the informants and this and that. They created the plot. Same thing with the Newburgh 4 or 5 that I covered. I forget. They make the plot. They train the people. They provide them with weapons. They urge them to commit the crime. They help them in committing the crime, and then they arrest them. Do you want that system to have the power of death penalty over you? The answer for me is it's a no for me. Anyways, that's what I got for you. I don't know what the schedule is going to be like coming up. Honestly, I'm in between jobs right now, and I took a new job that I'll be starting next week. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm going to try to keep up the content coming at the exact same pace. I can't promise at this point because I don't know. It's an unseen future. I talked to my wife about it, and she said, well, you just got to figure it out because you signed up for 2 jobs. I'll go work 60, 70 hours at the other job and then just try to find a way. The reason why I've pulled this off successfully with nobody helping me, now you guys do help sending ideas, and I appreciate that, whether they're via email, which is in every video, or just in the comments below, which I read. But nobody helps with editing. Nobody helps with research, And so I've been able to pull this off because I had a job that traveled a lot, So I was away from home a lot. And when you're away from home, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do all this work, just sitting there editing after work, this and that. And that's not going to be the case anymore because I get to spend more time with my family. But I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to try for it. Who knows what the future holds? That's what I got for you. Hope you guys have a terrific weekend. Hope to see you next time.